Welcome to episode 16 of Full Court Magic. If you do not know who I am by now, I am Don Strouble. I am the Orlando Magic beat writer for Roundtable Sports, and just like all the other episodes of Full Court Magic, this episode is powered by Roundtable Sports. All right, folks, let's get right into it. After an encouraging win against the Phoenix Suns on Tuesday, a 115 to 111 victory, the Magic were ran off the floor by their Southeast Division rival, Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks complete the season sweep of the Magic with a 130 to 101 victory. And this was a game that really just made it look like Orlando just was not on the same level. And in a position where, they look like a playing team. It's something that Jalen Suggs talked about yesterday. Um, After shoot around, something that I talked to him about after the game. This is a team where their reality right now is that they are a play-in team, and tonight they played like it. It was just abysmal in so many ways. I mean, you could break down the numbers all you want. 18.8% from the perimeter. You get Franz Wagner back, but clearly you can't expect a ton from him. He's on a minutes restriction and trying to shake off rust. Um, and yeah, this is just indicative of who the Magic have been the last several weeks. Just their second win, I believe, the last 10 games. I'd have to double check that. But it's been ugly. It's been ugly. And last time I came on here for a full episode with my good friend and colleague Andrew Cherko, who was not in the building tonight. We talked about, they get the win over the Kings to break the losing streak, but it wasn't a convincing win. It wasn't a win that you could really feel all that good about. And we talked about the difficult stretch of teams that they had coming up following that. And what happened? 52-point loss to the Toronto Raptors on Sunday, a franchise record margin of defeat. Uh, you get the win against the Suns, looked like a good win, but then when you lose by 29 to the Hawks, get swept for the season, is it really that good of a win? Did anything really change for this team? Was this really the win against the Suns? Was it really an inflection point in momentum, or just structured proper play uh, that leads to victories in this league? Doesn't look like it. Um, and as the deficit grew, chants calling for Jamal Mosley's job could be heard as a chorus around the Kia Center. Boos as a chorus around the Kia Center. Uh, and Mosley didn't deflect. He didn't shy away from it in the post-game press conference. Uh, he was honest. He said rightfully so. Did we put out the effort that we needed to? These are his quotes, by the way. I'm quoting him verbatim. Uh, did we have the energy that we needed to? Nope. And we deserve to give these fans a better product on nights like this. We deserve to play harder and fight from the beginning of the game, not when we're down 20. These fans deserve that without a doubt. You put that jersey on, that's how you need to play from the beginning of the game to the end of the game. So, rightfully so, they should be disappointed because we've got to put out a better product out there to be able to defend the right way, play the right way, share the ball, look in the mirror, take it on the chin. That's what we need to do, and we didn't do it tonight. So they know. They hear the noise from the outside. They understand the situation that they're in so many ways how this season has been an abject disappointment. I mean, like, let's rewind to the summertime. Um, and after the acquisition of Desmond Bain on Father's Day 2025, uh, and given the state of the Eastern Conference, people, many people thought in the national media, fans of the league, thought that the Magic, in a lot of ways, could be up next, that they could make a deep postseason run with the most ambitious of predictions and talking points, placing them as the representative of the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals. That hasn't happened. That's not close to happening. In fact, you could look at this team and based on intangibles, Last year's team was better. Was it a desired result? No, they ended up in a play-in territory. But last year, Orlando had Atlanta's number, and Orlando was able to get past the Hawks in the play-in, and then meet a Boston Celtics team fresh off a championship. You know, and that's okay. There's no shame in losing to the defending champs. But this is a team now where, depending on who they have to face in the play-in, I mean, Orlando is lucky that the Miami Heat seem to be more dejected at this moment and more just out of sorts than they are right now, because that's who they might see in a play-in setting. Better hope they don't see the Charlotte Hornets, because while they've struggled a bit as of late and not as hot as they once were, they're still, uh, you know, they still have Orlando's number. I mean, they just beat the hell out of them a couple weeks ago. They won the season series. Orlando only took one game. Charlotte won the next three. And so, there's this. It seems like this team is just intangibly checked out, whether they realize it yet or not. That is what shows on the floor. And Mosley went on to say, when he was asked about what's going on with the energy and effort, he said, the hardest thing to coach is effort. That we've heard this talking point before. Any sports fan that's watched post-game pressers of coaches across different leagues, that's something that gets brought up. But what that tells me is that if that is becoming a talking point for him now, is this team completely checked out? It's something that fans have been speculating for a while. And when you hear that from a coach, like it makes me wonder if he's lost the element of motivation. And is this a team that's just coasting to an eventual early exit from the postseason, and then changes will come? I mean, I don't want to speculate too much. That's not my job. But this is the position that they're in. Yeah, he said right here, one of the hardest things to coach, effort. It's the hardest thing to coach. If at this point in the season, we don't realize the importance of the games, how hard they're going to be each and every single night, then you've got to do a gut check, because you're down to 6 games left in the season playing for a playoff spot. And if I have to coach effort, there's something there. Yeah. This team talks so much about its process and sticking to the process. And, this is a team that my colleague Philip Rossman Wright with Locked On Magic has talked about often, how this team had, played with heart and hustle, those intangibles that made the Magic such a dogfight when opponents would come into the Kia Center or even on the road. And acquiring a Desmond Bane was supposed to put them over the top from a skill standpoint, skillfully. And Bane has played very well this year. He has looked to be worth the cost of what Orlando's front office gave up to acquire him. But the team hasn't gotten any better. Like I said, intangibly, they've gotten worse. This looks like a worse basketball team at this juncture of the season. Yeah, the injuries have been hard. Yeah, Franz has missed the better part of the last 4 months. But I don't know. It's not uncharted territory for this team. But when you start to give up on your intangibles, the intangibles that, at least as far as I can tell, being in this building almost every night that this team is playing, and being a consistent writer on this beat this season, those are the intangibles that are the key tenets of the process. And so when you don't have that, you don't have a process. And that's just kind of where things stand right now. I mean, like we can look at the stat sheet. We can talk about Nickeil Alexander-Walker dropping a career high 41 points to start you know, the Magic on that 7-game skid after the 7-game winning streak. And then he comes in tonight and has 32 on nearly 70% shooting. Couldn't find a way to adjust. I mean, his cousin is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, but he's not Shea. But he's out there playing like it against Orlando. Couldn't find a way to muster up some defensive tenacity to make it a little harder. Like, this is like there's no fixing this. Like there's too little time left. That time was um it was abundant a couple months ago, and it looked like this team had figured it out maybe post All-Star break. Like they had looked themselves in the mirror. It was a much needed break. They did what they had to do to get on the right track. But now, time is of the essence. Time is a luxury that is uh, in little amount. It can't be afforded right now because it doesn't exist. And they're in this spot where it's like there's nothing left to figure out. You can't just keep saying we're going to figure it out. Like, look, I mean, guys, in my final semester at UCF, I was on the football beat in Gus Malzahn's last year, and that was one of his talking points. We got to figure it out. We got to figure it out. Well, when the team went 1-7 down the stretch of the season or whatever it was after starting out 3-0, there's nothing left to figure out. You're a bad team. And I don't know if I'm convinced that the Magic are a bad team per se, but they're deeply flawed, and they seem to be checked out on the things that are most important to their identity, and from what I can tell, their process. So what happens now? I mean, it's not going to get easier. Got the Pistons next week at home and then the Timberwolves for final 2 home games. Got a date with Boston. I'd have to look at the rest of the schedule. It's, slipping my mind at the moment, but it's not they get to play a bunch of easy teams, and I'm not convinced that they could beat the easy teams. I don't know if they're convinced that they could beat the easy teams after that disastrous loss to the Pacers and then barely beating the Kings. So that's where things are at right now. Franz Wagner talked. He seems like he believes in where the team's at, and he said that he believes in where the team is at, and talked about that no one is more frustrated than the locker room. But that's just another talking point. Is this team going to back it up? Not a lot of time to find out. Let's take a look at the updated Eastern Conference standings. I've been writing tonight, getting photo and video, and so I haven't taken a look. But now we will. All right, so the Hornets have jumped the Magic. They have identical records, both 40 and 36. The Hornets, are now in 8th in the East. Magic are in 9th. Heat right behind him in 10th. Miami has a 40 and 37 record. So, you know what I mean? Like, play-in takes place April 14th through the 17th. Last game, I believe, don't quote me on this just yet, but I believe it's April 12th in Boston. That's the final game of the season. You got to play Boston on the road. Come on, internet. All right, so got a couple of easier games coming up before hosting Detroit on Monday, at Dallas, at New Orleans. But again, I mean, what happened last time at Dallas? Like, Magic very well could have and should have lost that game, but were able to muster out a win there at the end. The kind of heart that it took to muster out that win, I'm not sure this team possesses right now. Last game, April 12th against Boston. So you get no time to rest, no time off. And then you got to go into a play-in team against Miami or Charlotte. And then what? So it's pretty much all I got, folks. I'm just kind of going around in circles at this point, repeating myself. But yeah, this team's not in a good spot. I know it. You know it. Everyone who's paid attention knows it. and they better figure it out because uh, time is of the essence. Time is of the essence, and it's in short supply. So this has been Full Court Magic episode 16. I can't believe the season's almost over. I've really, really enjoyed it. Got a couple more yet. Going to get back on the air as soon as possible. At the very least, continue to do the shorts on YouTube where I give my quick thoughts, but tonight deserved a full episode. So I'm Don Strouble. This has been Full Court Magic. I'll see y'all next time.